This is the story of 8 candidates preparing for a life-changing job interview, an opportunity promising a handsome salary. Some boosted their confidence with positive words, while others tidied up to look their best. The examination hall was softly lit, which made it feel special and important. Inside, there were desks for each person, all neatly arranged in rows, along with cameras silently observing their every move. Then a guard with a gun walks in, which makes everyone feel scared. After him, another man comes in and does not reveal his name, but introduced himself as Invigilator. He tells them they've made it through lots of rounds, and this is the final one. If they do well on this test, they'll get the dream job they want. There are only a few set of rules which they need to follow. First, they can't talk to the guard or the man in charge. Second, if they mess up their test paper on purpose or by accident, or if they leave the room for any reason, they will fail. Third, they have 80 minutes to finish the test. There is just one question on the paper in front of them that they have to answer. The invigilator asks if anyone has questions. When no one says anything, he wishes them good luck, starts the timer, and left the room. The candidates flip over their papers and see that they are totally blank. They all look at each other, confused. As time keeps ticking, they start to get more and more worried. Then, the person labeled as candidate number 2 begins to write on her paper, explaining why she thinks she deserves the job. The camera in the room focused on her paper, and the guard was instructed to remove her because she ruined her paper. Candidate number 2 pleaded for a second chance, but the guard shut the door on her. A bit later, candidate number 5 figured out that the rule was that they couldn't talk to the invigilator or the guard, but they could talk to each other. He shared this idea with the others, making them believe that they would have to work together to figure out what the question is before they could find the answer. The group started discussing various ways they could pass the test, but everyone was confused. Throughout this, candidate number 1 did not speak at all. One man tried to introduce himself, but number 5 suggested they give each other nicknames so they wouldn't have to reveal their true identities. He went on to name candidate number 1 deaf because he hadn't spoken yet. Then, the guys were named brown, black, and white, according to their race, and the girls were named blonde, brunette, and dark, according to their hair color. Then, White suggests they should stand up from their chairs because there is no rule saying they can't. He takes a chance and stands up. Everyone is happy to see that the guard doesn't do anything, which means they can move around. Dark thinks that the questions might be written on paper with invisible ink. They all agree to check, but they're not sure how to. Dark stands up and uses the room lights to see if there's something written on the paper, but she can't see anything. She tells everyone to check their papers just in case. Everyone follows her suggestion, except for Deaf, who just sits quietly. White takes Deaf's paper and checks it too. When they don't find anything, Black thinks maybe they need special UV or X-ray lights to see the writing. The group starts looking for a light switch to see if they can change the lights. When they can't find a switch, they begin to search for another source of light. Blonde finds some emergency light strips in the room, but they can't find any switches to turn them on. The group thinks about breaking the other light bulbs to trigger an emergency and turn on the emergency lights. Brown disagrees, saying it's too risky. They vote on it and finally decide to go with the plan. After breaking all the other light bulbs, the room suddenly lights up with a blue glow from the emergency lights. Everyone, except for Deaf, starts to search their papers for the question under this new light. But they still can't see the question. Brunette thinks they need to remove the cover from the emergency lights to make UV rays. They use high heels to break the covers and get a different kind of light. But again, they don't find anything with these new lights, and now they only have 60 minutes left. White, feeling frustrated, asks everyone to come up with new ideas. As they think, White realizes they can do anything to number 2's paper since she's already out of the test. They go to her desk and try to shade the paper with a pencil to see if something shows up. But they still can't see any questions. Then White rips her paper into sections so they can try different things on each piece. He even pees on the pieces of paper to check if some liquid might make the question appear. Unfortunately, that idea also doesn't work. Black and White start arguing loudly about what to try next. Suddenly, they stop because they hear Def crying. He is sitting in his seat, crying quietly, and everyone looks at him. Def then starts to speak in French, asking if they can see something on the paper and saying that it reflects their image. The others don't really understand him and go back to thinking about what to do. Everyone becomes silent when Brown speaks up. He has his own theory and thinks that maybe they're not really in an exam, but are part of some kind of game or show where people are betting on them. Brown suggests that the company's board members have made bets on which candidate will lose it under pressure, and they are just there for their amusement. Dark says that the board members are probably too busy for that, but Brown thinks that they have so much money that they like taking risks for fun. Now everyone starts coming up with their own ideas. Some think that maybe the invigilator is playing a game with them, while others suspect it could be the CEO of the company. As the pressure mounts, they start to argue and insult each other. Dark speaks up confidently and says that no one is watching them because the CEO is very involved in the company. He holds all the power and makes all the decisions. It's clear that she knows more about the company than the others. Brown asks her how she knows so much about the CEO. Dark reveals that she already works for the company in the HR department, but she's never seen the CEO. She applied for a higher position, which is why she's now taking this test. Then, White shares that he was sought after and offered the job directly. However, they all share one common point. None of them know much about the company and its work because they were instructed not to ask any questions. Dark then clarifies that they are all applying for positions in a famous multi-million-dollar pharmaceutical company named Byrob. She recalls that a few years ago, when a global pandemic had spread, primarily affecting young people, Byrob was the first to find a cure. Right now, the company makes $20 billion every year, mainly because of their CEO. Suddenly, Brunette shows interest in this and asks Dark to tell her more. This makes White suspicious, and he asks Brunette if she also has this virus. She denies it and changes the subject. To divert everyone's attention, she goes to the guard and silently takes a lighter out of his pocket. Next, Brunette looks at the fire alarm. The group thinks of using the lighter to start the fire alarm, believing that maybe water will make the writing show up on the paper. To do this, Brunette stands on a chair, but she can't reach the fire alarm. White helps by giving her a rolled-up piece of paper. She sets it on fire with the lighter and uses it to set off the alarm. Water starts pouring down, but the papers don't change. Out of nowhere, the guard begins moving toward the group. At that moment, Dark opens the paper she was holding, and it turns out to be her own. White had tricked her to reduce the competition. Following this, Black gets furious at White's actions, threatens to punch him, causing the lights in the room to go out. The group realizes that the lights are voice-activated. They warn each other to be careful with words. As they discuss this, Def starts crying again. White takes this opportunity to bully Def, manipulating him into tearing up his own paper and eating it. This prompts the guard to remove Def from the room as well. Now, only 5 candidates are left. Black criticizes White for being a terrible person, but White insists that they should be thankful to him for eliminating their competitors. He also claims that he knows what the question is, but won't tell the others. Black, in anger, punches White, knocking him out. The group ties White to a chair and covers his mouth with a tie. After a while, White wakes up. Dark takes the gag off his mouth, and he asks for his medication, explaining that he is also infected with the virus and needs to take medicine every hour to stay alive. Black searches White's pocket for the pills, but doesn't find any. The group thinks that White might be making excuses to get free. However, White insists that has stolen his pill and promises to reveal the question if they return it. Suddenly, White loses consciousness and begins shaking. Some think he's pretending, but Black knows White is having a seizure because of the virus. They all start looking for the pill, but can't find it anywhere in the room. With only 15 minutes left on the timer, they begin checking each other for the pill. Dark suspects Brown might have taken the pill, and she's right when she finds the pill stuck to some chewing gum under his table. She tries to give it to White, but Brown throws it into a vent. As the others try to retrieve it, a worried Dark goes in front of the camera and asks the Invigilator to help White. However, because she talked to the Invigilator, she is immediately disqualified. After she leaves, Blonde uses a hairpin to retrieve the pill and saves White's life. Once White recovers, everyone asks him about the question. White explains that the answer is the candidate himself. All along, they've been searching for a question, but White believes there is no question. Whoever is left at the end is the answer. Other candidates agrees with him, but before they can do anything, White makes a run to take the guard's gun. Black manages to grab the gun first and points it at White. They fight, and White gets the gun back. But when White tries to use it, he finds out that the gun has fingerprint recognition. Immediately, he uses the guard's hand to activate the gun and points it at the others. White warns everyone to leave the room voluntarily so he can claim the position. Brown, out of fear of being shot, doesn't argue and walks out. Blonde slowly makes her way toward the exit, but before leaving, she screams "Lights out." In panic, White fires the gun blindly. Black is seen on the floor with a bullet in his chest. White scans the room and notices that Blonde still has one foot inside the room. Just as White is about to fire at Blonde, he notices the timer has already stopped. Confidently, he moves towards the camera and declares himself the winner of the competition. Suddenly, the guard steps forward, pointing to the clock. White's face falls as he realizes they still have 20 seconds left, meaning he has just disqualified himself by communicating with the Invigilator. It's then revealed that Death had manipulated the timer while the others were engaged in their discussions. Ultimately, the only one left is Blonde. She strides back into the room and retrieves Death's glasses that had fallen during his ejection. Through the glasses, she looks at the paper and discovers question 1. When Death returns into the room, it's revealed that he is the CEO of the company and had participated in the test to personally observe the candidates. Blonde approaches him and confidently utters a single word, "No." Both the CEO and the Invigilator smile at her response, indicating that she has solved the puzzle and passed the test. It turns out that when the Invigilator asked, "Do you have any questions?" at the start of the test, that was the only question they needed to answer. The entire examination was designed to test the candidate's intelligence and attentiveness. They offer Blonde the position of the CEO's secretary, but she initially declines the offer, unwilling to associate with an organization that seemingly causes harm to individuals. However, the Invigilator then reveals that Black isn't truly dead. The bullet that struck him was a capsule that heals the wound once it enters the body. This capsule is actually a groundbreaking medicine they've recently developed, capable of curing any disease in the world. At last, Blonde finally agrees to take the job. She firmly shakes hands with the CEO, ready to embark on her new career journey. And this is how the story ends. Sometimes, attentiveness and critical thinking are often more valuable than making assumptions or jumping to conclusions. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you have any suggestions for future movies, please leave them in the comments section below. Until next time, take care. Goodbye.